My tea people, what is happening? I don't have my microphone today, so hopefully the audio is decent. I'm sure it will be. Um, Someone suggested that I discuss my relationship and my history with tea. Um, I think that can be a long conversation. I don't want to belabor it too much. Um, and I think this will be a decent way to do this. So I found this in my grocery store, my local grocery store here in New Orleans, and I was like very interested. I was like, huh, Darjeeling tea in a bottle, and it's cold brewed. At least it's cold. Unsweetened Republic Darjeeling, the champagne of teas. And then unfortunately it says naturally flavored, which I cannot imagine why or how they came up with that. The ingredients say finest Darjeeling tea leaves brewed in pure water, citric acid, and natural flavors. This is definitely what brought me to my relationship with tea. Um, the chemicals, it bothers me. There is something here. It says, at this moment, somewhere the kettle calls, somewhere the cup waits, somewhere a person smiles, watching the leaves unfurl. The Minister of Leaves, republicoftea.com is the website for this. I do not have great expectations. Um, the fact that there is citric acid in here, which I'm sure is just to maintain freshness, because of course that's always the issue, is that these food products have to remain on the shelf almost indefinitely, um, in order for them to be economically viable. um, because I think what happens is you make this stuff, and then you don't know when or if it'll sell. So the longer it can sit on the shelf, the more likelihood there is of being able to sell it. Um, Now, the natural flavors, um, I read something recently. So this says it's distributed by the Republic of Tea, and the address is Larkspur, California. So obviously, it's tea that is sourced from India. Um, it doesn't say, what tea estate. This is really dark. So this is not cold brewed. This is hot brewed for sure. No, that is terrible. See, this is okay. All right. So anyway, my first introduction to tea was with tea bags, and they came in a box, and they were like 99 cents for 100 tea bags. And my mom put the tea bags in a big pitcher of water and sugar and sometimes lemons, but oftentimes not. And then she would sit it outside in the sun to brew, and she called it sun tea. And so for me as a kid, it was a really special thing because um, it was something that was made with the sun, and that was the only food product that I directly related to the sun. Right, so all my vegetables and stuff like that came from the store. And there was, of course, no drying anything outside, not in small town Texas household. So the fact that the sun was cooking this beverage just made it that much sweeter and that much nicer. And so anyway, and so that was really good. But of course, it tasted horrible if you didn't add sugar, and you had to have enough sugar. So sweet tea was very much a part of my childhood, and that's the only tea that I knew. I'm sure it happened a couple times throughout my childhood that I go to a restaurant or something and I order tea and they bring it out. They will bring tea in a glass with ice. Um, and typically there'll be like a saucer of lemon wedges, and then there'll be packets of sugar at the table. And there's been a few times that I tasted the tea without sugar and was just like, no, that's not good. Um, and 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 uh, and so anyway, so that was my relationship with tea. Um, Fast forward to and then let me say this. So that was my relationship with tea. As I got older and I got out of my mom's house, I really got away from doing like the Kool-Aid and stuff like that. So I no longer had any sort of beverage at home that I had to add sugar to. For whatever reason, I just moved past that, right? So now it was more of purchasing things with sugar already added. So I would buy sodas, I bought fruit juices and things of that nature. Um, and then at some point, I've always liked grocery shopping. And whenever I'm at the grocery store, I really like to look around and browse and learn things and read things. And I had moved to North Dallas, which is much more metropolitan area of the city. And there was a store, Central Market, that I really enjoyed going to because it was like a fancy upscale store. But for me, it was cool just because they had a bunch of stuff in there that I had never been introduced to. It was all different and new to me. And so I found the tea owl. There was also it was coffee and tea in the same little place, and they had loose leaf teas there that you can scoop yourself into a bag. And for whatever reason, I went to smell one of the teas, and I thought it smelled heavenly. Now these were blended teas with like dried fruits, flowers, and things of that nature. And so I tried some of the teas with the dried fruits, and I liked the smell more than I liked the taste. Um, but there was one or two in particular that I really liked, and then I did a little bit of research because again, that's something that I enjoy doing is just learning and researching and stuff. And I remember it was a peach green tea. I'm almost certain of it. I think that's the one that just really got my attention. It was a green tea, um, but it had dried pieces of peach in there. And so, yeah, so I started looking up this stuff and somehow came across the rest is blurry. It really is. I somehow came across, I think, probably May leaf um, on YouTube some kind of way. Um, and then I believe there was also a puer, um, that was at the Central Market. Again, a blended tea. I'm certain of it. Um, and then I probably Googled that one too because somehow that So anyway, I think it was I think it was the Darjeelings that I first got into because I went from the green tea with the dried fruit and then to and so I think I came across then Darjeeling teas and really like those. Kind of fell in love with those. The idea that it's the champagne of teas um, was interesting to me, and so I got into Darjeelings. Somehow I must have found Mayleaf online on YouTube, and that's how I learned about Puer. And then um, From there, I must have Googled or something, and then I found Yunnan sourcing. Once I found Yunnan sourcing, that's when it became like, like my mind was, it was like the Matrix. Like my mind had opened up, and it was just this new world of things for me to learn and understand. And that's why Yunnan sourcing is what really took me down a rabbit hole. And I ended up getting a bunch of samples, just trying stuff. And there was one in particular that I really, really liked, and I didn't have the forethought to to uh, to make an account or keep any history of what I purchased. So to this day, I don't know what it was. I've since tried to go back and find it with dismal results. All I know for sure is that it was a 2-0. So it was a mushroom shaped um, cake. I'm certain it was a Sheen. Um, and I loved to cold brew it. It was so good. And I remember letting my mom taste some, and she really liked it. And I taught her how to cold brew it. Um, and yeah, and since then I haven't been able to find it. I don't know what it was. Um, so yeah, so that's how I then got into Puer, and then like I said, it's like a whole world opened up to me. And now all of a sudden, I'm interested in shade grown green teas, and then I got very serious about trying to find the teas at source, and so I found the Japanese website for oh, I'm gonna forget the name of it. The I can see the name, I can't say it. Anyway, um, yeah, and so I got the Japanese green teas, and yeah, and then eventually I tried some matcha, and yeah, I mean the rest is history, you know. And this will have been like 2013, 2014 is when all this happened. And in my memory, it was a very quick spiral into the world of tea. The other thing I wanted to talk about was I joined a church last year, and it's something that I've wanted to do for quite some time now, and I finally pulled the trigger and made it happen. And the church that I joined, um, does not, they don't like tea. They have very, I'm not going to say strict rules, but they have a rule against tea, like no tea, no tea, no coffee. Um, and so while I do appreciate the tenets of the church and what they stand for and everything like that, I do uh, find myself questioning the whole tea thing, and it's been a long-standing debate. A lot has been said about it. Um, and what's really interesting is that because the culture of the church is anti-tea, they don't know much about tea. So I'm really interested to meet others who are in the church that are also tea heads, um, because what I find is if you were to ask someone at the church, hey, you know, when you say no tea, like what do you mean exactly? And they'll typically say, well, you know, no black tea, no green tea. But they don't mention white tea, they don't mention yellow tea, they don't mention Camellia sinensis, right? They don't mention Camellia arabica. You know what I'm saying? And then you have this whole thing. Well, you know, something like dandelion tea. It's not a tea, it's a tisane. So when you say no tea, do you mean like no tea, or do you mean no Camellia sinensis, Camellia arabica, right? Uh, So it's interesting, right? No one at the church is going to say anything about pu'er because they don't know what pu'er is. I imagine there are branches of the church in Taiwan and in China and in the Asian world, and I am curious to see kind of how it's treated there, because of course I'm certain they'll know all about the tea culture, and if you ask someone from, maybe China or Taiwan who's in church and say, hey, when you say no tea, what do you mean? I'm sure they'll say, yeah, like no pu'er, no oolong, no, you know what I mean? um and I think it's sort of a way to be outside of popular culture, is the way I've always saw it. I grew up very religious, and so I recall reading the Bible, and a lot of the rules and stuff that were given to the Jews in the Bible, in my opinion, were rules given to them to separate them from the rest of society. Sort of like, you are special people. You cannot eat what everyone eats. You cannot drink what everyone drinks. You cannot wear what everyone wears, right? You are supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. And if someone sees you on the street or someone meets you, they ought to know that you are this special person. This is the group that you belong to, right? And so when I think about the no tea, no coffee thing, I think about it in that context, which is everyone drinks tea and coffee. It's like very popular, and so for you to then say, well, I don't drink tea or coffee. And then for someone to say, well, why? And it's like, well, it's part of my religion, it's part of my faith. Um, that kind of sets you apart, right? So I see it from that angle. Um, Personally, I sort of already feel, being, Southern United States, I already feel kind of set apart for most people by drinking loose leaf tea. Matter of fact, that's always kind of been the thing, right? Is that I'm the guy that shows up with a water bottle full of leaves at the bottom, and everyone is just like, "What the heck is that? Why are you drinking that?" Right? Um, even when I go to church, it's funny. I do it on purpose sometimes, where I'll show up with my water bottle, and instead of tea, I'll have like some herbs, so chanca piedra or something, in the bottle, and I'll have guys say, "Man, what is that? Why do you have sticks and leaves in a water bottle?" And I was just like, "Well, it's good for your health, right?" So so anyway, that's my relationship with tea. I want to mention this too. The other reason I got into loose leaf tea, um, it was at a point in my life that I was trying to find balance with work, and I was like super stressed and very like busy, 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 anxious type of thing. And I always liked rituals, regardless of where they're from. Ever since I was a kid, I've always been interested in rituals. And so the tea ritual um, really spoke to me, because I made it. I made a decision at that time that during tea time, I wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to answer my phone. I wasn't going to do any work. I was going to sit, and I was going to just enjoy tea. And at that time, that really meant a lot to me. And I think it really helped. And that's what caused me to really enjoy tea even more, because it was not just a health drink. It was not just um, a a thing that tastes good, right? It was also a ritual to help ground me, and to help uh, justify taking a break, is what it came down to. Um, the other thing, and I mentioned this before, but going back to it, I did a water challenge years ago, long time ago. I did a water challenge because I went to one of those like um, fitness seminars or whatever. Um, And the guy and the lady that was speaking during the seminar, they really pushed drinking water. I mean, they really pushed it. I mean, that's the only thing I really remember about this seminar was drinking water. And they were both really bragging on how much water they drink. Matter of fact, both the guy and the girl that was talking bragged about how they're always walking around with a gallon of water. And it was sort of like, in my mind anyway, it was sort of like you're working out because you're always walking around with this gallon of water, right? And you're using your muscles to hold it and lift it and stuff like that. Um, but they were drinking it, they were finishing it. And I don't know if they initiated the challenge, um, but I definitely took on the challenge of drinking, I believe it was half my body weight in ounces of water a day. And I did that. And prior to this, I was not a water drinker. Like it's even difficult for me to go back in my memory and recall my relationship with water. My relationship with water up until this point was drinking water out of the water hose when I was a kid, and I was like forced to be outside, and and yeah, and so as a kid, you always like try to use an excuse to come back in the house because it was hot and you bored, right? And mom would say, no, you can't come in and use the bathroom. Use the bathroom outside. No, you can't come in for water. Use the water hose, right? And so that was my relationship with water. There was never a time that I went to a restaurant and was like, yeah, give me water. Or even at home during dinner or breakfast. Water was never a drink that I can recall. Um, I don't even remember having water in the refrigerator. Matter of fact, to my memory, if I ever wanted to drink water for whatever reason, maybe because we were out of juice or soda or Kool-Aid or something, I remember getting ice out the freezer, putting ice in a cup, and then going to the tap and just running water into my cup and drinking water that way. So I take this water challenge, and it was tough. It was difficult. Along with the water challenge, I also disallowed myself sugar. So no sugar of any kind, none whatsoever. If I wanted something sweet, it had to come from fresh fruit. It's the only way I can get sugar. And I did this for more than a month. I did it for more than a month, at least a month, put it that way. I did it for at least a month. And afterwards, and this is before I started drinking tea, by the way. Um, Afterwards, my palate had changed. It was the strangest thing. I didn't know that was possible. And I'm so excited to tell people that today, because it's real. My palate changed. I remember trying to drink a can of soda, and it was just way too sweet. Like I just wasn't able to finish a can of soda. I was drinking maybe half a can. And so I didn't drink soda after that for a long time. And it took a while for me to be okay with only drinking half a can and just basically throwing the rest away because couldn't finish it. And putting a half can of soda in the fridge and drinking it later was like disgusting. So, yeah, I had to just be okay with drinking a little bit and throwing the rest away. Once I got to that point, then I slowly worked my way up to where I could drink an entire can of soda again. But it had changed, but by that time it had changed my relationship with soda. So even now, like I barely drink soda, like maybe once a year, maybe twice a year at the most. I just don't have a taste for it. Same thing with fruit juices. Fruit juices are just super sweet to me, and so I barely drink fruit juices. So anyway, um, that is also kind of how I got into tea because for me, tea was flavored water. It was flavored water. It's like if I'm going to drink water, I want to have some flavor. And so tea was a way for me to drink flavored water. The other thing that happened, and this goes back to water as well, is I started using water as a smoking cessation. That happened after my water fast, because after my water fast, my relationship with water completely changed to where all I wanted was water. I didn't want to drink anything else. And it's so weird now. I meet people and they're just like, I hate water. I don't drink water. And that sounds so alien to me. Um, it's very difficult for me to remember a time that I didn't drink water. Um, I don't know if I've ever said that I didn't like water, but I definitely have never said that like I love water. Right now, I love water. Water is all I want to drink. If I go to a restaurant, it's like, give me water. You know, no ice, please. Um, So that was another reason that I got into tea, is because it allowed me to flavor my water. And I was always drinking water because I was trying to stop smoking. And I figured if I'm putting a water bottle to my mouth, anytime I'm anxious or nervous or need something to do, because a lot of times that's the reason why I was smoking, is because I just needed something to do with my hands. Um, drinking water helped with that. Um, what else? There was something else that goes back to my relationship with water. Yeah, this is definitely turned into a water thing instead of a tea thing. But the two for me are definitely connected. I visited I visited Iceland a couple years ago, and with this trip, I also visited Europe, different countries in Europe. And the thing that blew me away was how prevalent mineral water was. Like I didn't know. I had, up until this point, I've never had mineral water ever. The Up until a couple years ago, my only concept of mineral water was like tonic water. Like if you asked me what mineral water was, I would have told you tonic water. And then I got to Iceland and I actually visited a natural mineral water like spring where the water is literally like bubbling up from under the ground. And I filled, and then they had a sign above the well that showed all the different vitamins and minerals that was in the water. And I know I'm using the word vitamins wrong, but that's what I call it. You know, calcium, magnesium, so forth. And I've always been like interested in health and stuff like that, and so I knew that like those minerals were good to have. Um, and so I filled up my, and completely free, donations accepted or whatever, but it's completely free. Take all the water you want. And so I filled up my huge jug of water, and I noticed that there were tiny little bubbles are going around the bottle, and then I tasted it, and I was like, this is fizzy, but not fizzy the way that I've known fizzy, because I've only tasted carbonated drinks, right? And I was like, oh, is that natural carbonation? It's so good, right? And and so that was Iceland. And then I went on to other European countries, and when I went out to restaurants and stuff, I'll ask for water, and then they'll ask me if I wanted sparkling or still. Um, and the thing was, okay, so I speak Spanish, right? So when I went to Italy and Spain and Portugal and all these places, I spoke Spanish. And then people spoke Italian back to me, or Portuguese or whatever, or Spanish or whatever it was, and we can understand each other. And so so they weren't asking me sparkling or still. They were asking me, I forget how to say it, but basically, that's when I found out that mineral water is like the like the water that you drink. That's the only way I can explain it. Bottled water is like what we drink in the United States. It's tap water basically, right? It's that's bottled water. But mineral water is natural water. Um, and so that blew my mind. I was like, oh, so we're supposed to be drinking mineral water. And in Europe, mineral water is just like everywhere, you know? So when I got back to the States, I looked up mineral water and I found out, I'm like, oh yeah, we have mineral water all over the place. You just have to like look for it. And so now that's the only thing I drink is mineral water. I still cook with bottled water or whatever, but as far as drinking, I use the mineral water. And I do not brew my tea in mineral water. I I think I've done it in the past. I'm sure I've done it in the past. And I don't know if I've tasted any difference really. Um, so anyway, that's that. Now, back to this thing. This this is the thing that bothers me the most. This is, part of my health kick. This is horrible. This is horrible. This is horrible. This is blasphemy. This is evil. This is everything that is horrible about, I'm gonna say, this country. Like seriously, man. I hate it. I really do. And I use that word purposely. Um, this is garbage. This is horrible. The fact that someone is going to their local grocery store, right? Someone that has no clue what Darjeeling tea is. The fact that you can write the champagne of teas on this label, the champagne of teas, Darjeeling, right? You can write that on a label and put this crap in a bottle is, I'm calling the 1-800 number and they're going to have to send me a refund or something. This is terrible. This is terrible. This is the worst possible thing I've ever had in my life. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I've never tasted anything more horrible. And I say that across the spectrum of beverages and food. Okay? I really mean that. Like, I'm not like a picky eater. You know what I'm saying? There aren't very many things that I think are just like straight up nasty. This is disgusting. 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 It's no way. It's horrible. It is the worst thing I've ever had in my life. I'm not being dramatic. It's terrible. So, 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 so bad. So, so, so bad. I am going to, for fun, send this as a joke gift. Maybe. Maybe. I have to really think about it. The citric acid is what it is. It's like lemon juice or something. And there's so much of it in this bottle that you don't taste the tea. I think someone told someone that Americans put lemon in their tea. I'm trying to, I keep going back to it because I want to pull out what's happening here. This is very, 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 very lemony. This is mostly lemon juice, mostly. There's a tiny bit of tea, tiny bit of tea. The fact that this brew is so dark is what scares me. Because I don't know how you get it this dark if it's just freaking lemon juice. And then the natural flavors. Here's the thing. I Googled natural flavors, and I used to think that natural flavors was just completely synthetic BS, right? From my understanding, natural flavors legally has to be something natural. It cannot be synthetic, but they can use who knows what, beet juice, carrot juice, who knows what they put in here. Whatever they put in here is I got a chance to meet online a guy that was head of some Darjeeling something over in India, dealing with the teas and whatnot. If I were to send this to this guy, I am certain that he is going to disavow this company and this tea. No question about it. If I were to ask him, hey man, where does this come from? How does this happen? I sincerely doubt someone in India is doing this, because it means that the only way, this is what I mean by this, okay? The only way for a tea estate in India to make this product is if someone said to them, hey, Americans will really like it if you put a bunch of lemon in here. And then after they added all the lemon, they said, wow, and hey, shelf stability. I get it, right? They put so much lemon in here to make this shelf stable, and maybe not even lemon, like literally probably citric acid that maybe comes from lemon peels or who knows where, right? But okay. And then after they added all that citric acid, they then said, well, wow, guys, like we put so much citric acid in here, we have to do something to give it some flavor of Darjeeling tea. So let's add, I don't know, shit water. I can't, I don't, I mean, it doesn't taste like feces. It does not taste like feces, but I can't, the natural flavor, I can't imagine what the natural flavors are unless the natural flavors are actual tea. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the natural flavors are tea. But then it says the ingredients are the finest Darjeeling tea leaves brewed in pure water. You know? Yeah, is it first flush, second flush, third autumn flush? Like what are you talking about? The finest. Um, I don't know how much I paid for this, and I don't care. I'm definitely gonna call that 1-800 number. I really am. You know, I I'm not one of those people that gets like jazzed up about politics and stuff like that, but I do get pretty jazzed up about food. I do. I do. Cultural appropriation bothers me a lot. And this is one of those cases where I truly believe this is not an Indian company doing this. This is not a tea estate doing this. I truly believe this is some company, probably in America, that has decided that they're going to use the name Darjeeling to sell some bullshit in a bottle. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know what the legalities are behind that, but man, I really want, I really want cultures and countries to take license over their ethnic foods and beverages, right? That it's been done with tequila, it's been done with with what's the other one? I can't recall right now. But anyway, tequila is the biggest one, where in order to call something tequila, in order to label it tequila, it has to be made from this particular ingredient from this particular place, right? And you can't just put bullshit on it and call it tequila, right? I'm gonna call the number, and I know I'm gonna get like a customer service representative, and so I'm not gonna take out my vitriol on them, but I'm gonna ask them for maybe, I don't know, an email or something so that I can take my vitriol out on someone. I'm doing it in this video pretty good, but I want them to stop. is the thing. I want them to stop. I want them to pull all this bullshit off all the shelves everywhere. And if you're gonna sell Darjeeling tea in a bottle, freaking sell Darjeeling tea in a bottle. If that means that you have to put an expiration date on it, hey man, that's life. Like, put an expiration date on it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to tell you. And if you can't make that economically viable, then just don't freaking sell Darjeeling tea in a bottle. Just, I don't know. Just tell people, hey, Darjeeling tea is really good. Here's a bag of it. Go home and brew it yourself. You know? All right. This video is going on way too long. But I've enjoyed it. I was not expecting it to be this horrible. I didn't think it was gonna be great. I would have been pleasantly surprised if it was good. But I really did not expect it to be this bad. I really didn't. This is horrible. From me to you, I holla.